everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Sarah and I am so happy you have joined me today. I am doing a process video for a layout that I used with my August Wild Hare Kit. So this is the first kit that I received. I am fortunate enough to be on the design team, and so we were sent our kits a bit early before everything went live, and this is the layout that I put together. So right now I'm just cutting strips of pattern paper, and this blue paper that I have brought into the mix is not one of the papers that I got in my kit. This is one from my stash. If you are interested to see what I received in my first kit, I will link the unboxing video in the description below. So just going through, cutting the papers, not really caring what size they are, just making sure that they're all straight. And I decided that I would cut a few of these 3x3 cards out because they might make a good embellishment later on. So I cut a few of those, and now I'm going to start laying some of these papers out. And I'm just going through, and probably took a little bit more time than I actually needed to in order to do this, but I wanted to get a sense of how I was going to lay everything out before I started gluing things down. I knew I wanted to stagger the ends, and I also knew that I was going to be stitching. So I thought that I would lay it out and see how it went. And like I said, I probably spent a little bit more time than I actually needed to. But you get the idea. So now this is where I decided that I liked the way I had that, but I needed to do something with the background paper. And this background paper is also from my stash, and I don't know if you can see it well, but it's just a very fine checkered, I'm praying that this inking technique works, just a fine checked or squared rather background, like a graph paper. And I decided that I was going to take 3 complementary ink colors. There was a Stampin' Up! And then 2 colors from Hero Arts. And if you're interested in the colors, just let me know in the comment section below, and I will track those down and let you know what they are. So what you don't see is off to the side, I'm actually wiping my brayer off on a baby wipe just to get some of the color off so that I don't contaminate the next ink pad that I use. I really tried to keep this in a triangular type, not pattern, but design, so that it really mirrored the strips of papers sections that I was going to be using. So you can see the triangular design really with the green. So that's my photo. It's actually a picture of a meal we had at the new Shake Shack here in Detroit. And I'm just taking that and matting it on a piece of white cardstock. And I printed this at home with my Epson PictureMate charm. And I don't know exactly what, well, I know I printed it at 4x6, but I think that I might have trimmed that picture down a smidge. And now I'm just using a really bad blade on my Fiskars trimmer, and I'm going to have to go back and trim it with a pair of scissors. But that's okay. So I have my picture all matted, and already you can tell a difference in how it looks against that background. That little white border just really makes that picture pop. And it's going to do even more once those strips of paper are down. So I'm going to take a piece of craft foam and stick it on the back to give this picture some lift. There is going to be a lot of paper with this layout, and so giving things a little bit more dimension and shadow is really going to bring some visual interest to this layout. When I first get a kit or a new collection, I sometimes get overwhelmed with the choices that I have, and so I tend to do things in small amounts with something brand new. And so these strips tend to be my go-to, whether I do this actual design or just use strips in another type of pattern, this seems to really help me pare down what I'm going to use. So I'm going to sand the edges of my paper, not for a distressed look, but because my blade on my trimmer needs to be changed. And I have little white bits, and I don't want that to end up on my layout. So I'm just sanding those off when I see that I need them. And I'm just going to go through and lay the strips of paper next to each other. And I wanted to make sure that I had the diagonal strips going in the same degree of diagonalius, if that makes any sense. Yes, I just made up a new word. So I wanted to make sure that as I was laying the one side on the left down, that I kept it similar to what I was going to be laying down on the right. And so that is why I started doing that upper right corner as well, just to make sure that I was keeping the diagonal in the same degree as my original layout. And so I'm just staggering the strips, and I'm gluing them down with Scotch tacky glue in a fine line bottle. And I'm just putting a very little bit because I do know that I'm going to go back and stitch all of these strips down. Another great way to bring texture is to add a little bit of stitching. And so here I'm just putting the needle back in my fine line bottle. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to tidy up just a smidge, only to make another mess. And I'm going to cut the strips of paper off. I will definitely save these strips because they're certainly, in my mind, until the kit is done, I can still use these. So I'm going to stick these down, and then I believe you're going to come back and see that I have stitched. And there it is. Lots of threads going all over. And I did both a straight and a zigzag. And I just pulled all the threads through and used washi tape on the back of the paper to secure them down. And that's me just showing you how I've secured it. And I'm so happy that that's all done. That was a lot of work for just those little strips of paper. It was a lot of sewing and a lot of thread pulling. So here I laid my photo back down. That is where I'm going to put the photo. And I really want to start embellishing now. So I am bringing out the Amy Tangerine wooden cards that I got in my kit. Very excited for. And I am just going to audition a couple options for a title. And this just really stood out because it had the word love, and it had the arrows, which gave a visual direction of where I would like the reader's eye to go. And so I really liked that. And you just saw me bring in those two cards again from the cut apart sheet. And it's because I know that I'm going to need to add some color to that right side of that picture. While the background is nice in my mind with the ink that had been brayered on there, there's still an element that needs just a little bit more, a little pop of color to make everything cohesive. So I'm taking these Bella Boulevard puffy stickers, puffy stars, and they're really a cross between a puffy sticker and like an enamel sticker. They're not super soft, but they add great dimension, and I love the look of them. They're matte and they're strong, and I just think they add the perfect little punch on this layout. So now I'm looking at the Dear Lizzie stickers, phrase stickers that came in my kit. And I'm going to pull off a few and put them up at the top of my my work surface. Sorry about that. And then I realized that I don't need them all, and so I'm going to put one or two back. and really just keep that visual triangle in my mind and just use 3. And I have not given up hope of using that flare from a flare for buttons, but spoiler alert, it is not going to make it on my layout, but it will on another layout, I promise you. So here I'm just going back to the Bella Boulevard stars, and I am adding a few more. And as you know, the rule of design is that things in odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye, and so that's why you see a lot of designers and a lot of illustrators, people in graphic design, they'll use odd numbers because it's something that's just more pleasing. And so I'm doing little groups of the stars. And now I'm going to adhere my picture down. And I've zoomed in a little bit so that you guys could see. I love those stars. I love how that some of them look hand-drawn with the lines and some of them are solid. I just think it adds a nice little visual interest to it. So I'm just getting these stuck down and trying to overlap some of the strips so that it really makes it look connected and pulled together. And if I don't overlap the strips of paper, then I'm at least overlapping on the stitching. Again, just makes it a little bit more cohesive. So now I am just going to start moving this little wooden tile or this little wooden card all over the page. And I realize at this point I am going to use this as like a title block for my title. And I grabbed a couple of those 3x3 cards, and this one here said, "Love this so much." And I thought, you know what, this is perfect for a title. So I'm going to fussy cut out the words "this so much" and adhere it to the card. So then the title card will read, "Love this so much." And I'm just fussy cutting around the words, leaving a very thin little blue line around the words. And I'm not the first and I won't be the last to say this, but if you want a nice clean edge while you're fussy cutting, it's really important that you rest your forearms on your work surface. It gives you a nice bit of stability and makes for nice clean cuts when you are doing intricate cutting like words or patterns or anything like that. So I kept all this in because it actually went pretty fast. And like I said, I'm just leaving a small border all around the words. And I hope I'm not leaving too much out of this process video. This is actually my second time narrating it. I lost some of my audio, and so now I feel like I'm getting bored with this voiceover. So I hope it doesn't come across that way. So now I'm just going to cut a couple bits off of that little card to add a pop of color behind that wooden card. So here I go, taking my fine line bottle with the tacky glue in there, and you can't see this because I do have it off screen, but I just back that word, love, with the colored paper. I'm zooming in and now I'm zooming out. And it really adds quite a bit to that little card. It makes it way more readable than if I had just kept that word love opened. I think it would have been too distracting with the different colored papers behind there. So having that pop of orange really made it cohesive. And now I'm just cutting out the exclamation point because I really loved that so much. So I don't know if I already said it or if this is me thinking that I already did, because I already said it in my first voiceover. But this is a picture of us, or actually of my meal at the new Shake Shack. And so I definitely loved it so much. So this is the perfect title. So here I'm just going to add a little bit more glue for those arrows. And again, using the same pattern paper as I did for the word love. I just put that down. I'm going to pop the lid back on my fine line bottle. And now I've got my little title card. So now I'm probably going to push this little title card all over the page. And the good news is I cut out a lot of it so that you don't have to watch me do it. I want to put it up a little higher, but as you can see, I just pointed to a little space that if I push it up any higher, it's going to trap some white space. And I know that I won't like that. So I've decided how to remedy the right side of the picture, and that is to add some of these 3x3 cards by turning them into little tags. So I'm grabbing some of the colors that are going to complement the strips of paper that I already have there, and I'm cutting some of this, it's not really black, it's more of a charcoal. And then I used the orange that I had for backing my love and the little arrows on the title card. And then I'm going to use the blue that you see there off to the right, where I cut out the words "this so much." And I'm going to add those three. I'm just eyeballing everything the way I'm cutting things off and punching the hole. You know, sometimes I'm meticulous about things, and other times it's not that I just want to get it done, because I enjoy the process, but there's certain things sometimes I just don't sweat them. So now I am just lining these up so that they look random, but as we all know, random in scrapbooking is usually very precise. I'm taking some of the phrase stickers, and now I'm going to start putting them in my three, I guess they're clusters. That one says woohoo, and I lifted up the star a little bit so that the edge of it is under the star. And I've got two more, one that I placed at the top of the picture and one that you can't see right now. It's off camera. It's at the bottom of the picture. And you'll be able to see it a little bit later. And right now, I think that I'm putting glue underneath those tags to hold them down a little bit better. But it turned out when I go to tie the string, I realized that I didn't put enough, or if any actually. And I'm going to end up using my Tombow tape runner to secure them down. So right now I'm just going to thread the holes, and I'm going to tie one of them as a little bow. Just adding a little bit of tape, and I'm going to pull it through, tuck it back there, and this one I'm going to tie into a bow. And then the other two, so that I'm not making it really bulky over there with more bows, I will tie the other two in just, and let the strings stay loose. So I'll tie it in a knot, and then the strings will just stay straight. I'll cut them down a little bit so that they don't interfere with the title card. And I kept these white, but if you wanted to dye them, it would be easy just to take your ink pads that you had and run the string across your ink pads, and you could have a ton of different colors of crochet string just with the white roll that you started with. So this is the next day, and I have stitched all around the border of my layout, and I'm just showing you that I pulled the strings all through. You're the best. And yep, this is great. Those are the two stickers that you weren't able to see yesterday. And this is the title card. And what I did was I put foam squares behind the words, "this so much," and the exclamation point to give that card some more dimension. This layout is actually pretty flat, or it would be really flat if I hadn't added the texture of the stitching and the enamel or puffy stars, the twine, and that little bit of lift on those words there on that card. Just give a little bit more shadow and a little bit more depth to this page. So I grabbed some enamel dots from my stash, and I'm going to unstick them to my fingers and my fingernails and put them on the page. I think I used some of the red and a really light aqua. And I'm just going to scatter them in the little clusters that I already have. And just adding just a pop more color. And again, it's not going to be something that your eye is going to go to automatically, but it will be a little detail that you will see if you were looking at this layout in a book. It would catch your eye. And that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want any of these things to be the star of the show. I want my picture and or my story to be the star. So having these little details blend in is what I'm going for. And I'm just going to add a third star over here. And it finds its home right there. And I'm just putting some of my stuff away to make sure I don't lose it on a very messy desk that I already have. And I think what I'm doing right now is I am looking for my ruler to draw some lines below my picture. And the ruler that I pull out is actually one that I got from CKU. I don't know if anybody remembers CKU, Creating Keepsake University. I went there in 2007 and I love this ruler, and so I use it quite often. So I'm drawing my journaling lines with an American Crafts precision pen in a .01 that I just showed you, and this makes the lines nice and thin. And my pen that I'm actually going to journal with is a .05. And I'm basically just saying in a couple quick lines, and I think it's actually just one sentence, on how excited we were to go to the Shake Shack when it first opened and how delicious the burgers, fries, and shake were. If you have one in your area and have never gone, you should try it. And if you don't have one in your area, you should find one and try it. So this is pretty much the layout as it will be when it is finished. I realized that I needed just a little bit more something, and it came in the form of mists. So I went through my little color swatches for I don't have all of mine swatched. I stopped doing it after a while, and I don't know why, because I need them all. But I've decided to pull out Shimmer's Jenny B. Blue and Heidi Swapp Patina, and I'm gonna get those out and give them a good shake. And both of these products have a nice little shimmer, but nothing that's going to be distracting. I know, how ridiculous is that? As if that little piece of paper is gonna help me out at all. I got smart and replaced it with a bigger piece of paper. So I'm just putting some splatters in the 3 key cluster areas. And what happened when I did the Heidi Swapp Patina was a little bit of the green dye got on that wooden card where my title is, and it started to bleed just a little bit. And it obviously didn't ruin the layout or anything, but I didn't want any more to get on there, so I just covered it up. So I'm just kind of going back through and adding a few more sprinkles. And this is going to do it. I've got some stills at the end of the video for you to see, but this is how it is. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you would hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great day.